What is going on, guys? I'm xHitoBitez and welcome back to another video of MapleStory. Me on my Wind Archer just training, and I'm already level 140 plus, 146 to be exact. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about the iPhone 5s and the iPhone 5c and also the iPhone 5. The iPhone 5s is going to be $200 with the contract, and the 5c is going to be $100 with the contract. Right off the bat, you can see that the 5C is a lot cheaper than the 5S. But I don't think that you should be comparing the 5C to the 5S, because the 5C is not I don't really know how to explain it, but they didn't upgrade it like they did with the 5S. Like every year the 5S is a little bit better than the 5, but the 5C is the exact same thing as the 5 except it's plastic. So everybody is comparing the 5S and the 5 to the 5C, but you shouldn't be comparing the 5C with the 5S. You should be comparing the 5C with the 5. And if you compare it with the 5C with the 5, it's like the same thing, because the iPhone 5 has already dropped in price, and it's like $100 with contract anyways now anyways. So why would you get the 5C when you can get the 5? And another thing that bothers me is it's plastic, so I'm gonna expect the phone to be overheating a lot because it's plastic, and you can't even remove anything with Apple. Like, you can't remove the cover and add something else to make more ventilations and whatnot. So I'm expecting the phone to overheat a lot, and since Apple has its crazy thing where it just like has random apps going on that you can't even close because that's just how they want it to be. And another thing is they didn't even upgrade the camera on the 5C. It's the camera on the 5C is exactly the same as it was on the 5, and that just like bothers me so much. It's like, why would anybody even want to buy the 5C when the camera's no different? So I don't really think that, I mean, personally, I think a lot of people are going to buy it because they're going to be comparing the 5C and the 5S, and they're going to be like, oh hey, this 5C is so much cheaper. But you shouldn't look at it like that. You should look at it in the other sense. And another thing, a lot of people don't understand these specs, so they hear all these crazy lovely words of wisdom, and they're like, this sounds so much better than that one. And it's like, well, it's not really any different, but since it sounds so good, it's like, I'm gonna get this. It's the same thing with like the processors on these phones. It's like, oh, it has a Snapdragon 800 clocked at 2.3 gigahertz quad core, and people are like, wow, that's so awesome. But you're not gonna really need something like that, because a 1.5 gigahertz quad core is gonna be practically the same as a 2.3 in a sense of phones, because phones don't need this kind of speed that computers need, because unless you're running like 20 billion apps at once, which if you did, then what would happen is the phone would eventually overheat, and it could just end up restarting or just shutting off, or just the screen going blank and just freezing for a while, and then you're wondering what's going on, and things like that are gonna happen a lot. So that's why I really don't see a point in it. The only thing that really amazes me is resolution, camera quality, not megapixels, because megapixels really don't mean anything. After 5 megapixels are really useless for the most part. Of course, people can argue, but for the most part, 5 megapixel camera is gonna be similar to a 10 megapixel camera, because if you print it out, most likely you're gonna be printing it out by 8.5 by 8 by 11.5. Is that what it is? Regular piece of paper, regular sheet of paper. And if you want to print out the entire sheet of paper, if you print out 5 megapixels, the quality of 5 megapixels is going to be the same thing as the quality of 10 megapixels if you print it out on the whole sheet of paper, because I don't really know why. That's just the way 5 megapixels is. 5 megapixels is enough to have a super clear 8.5 by 11 piece of paper thingy bobber, whatever it is. And you know, megapixels really don't matter. There's other things that really matter to me, like how it takes pictures, how much options you have, because I like to I don't like having everything on auto when I take pictures. I like to play around with the settings and tweak them up so I can get a picture. Excuse me. So I can get the picture to the way I want it. Maybe it's like a super bright day, but I want it to look a little gloomy or something. If I edit the settings, it might look a little darker, and maybe I want it to look a little darker just for, I don't know why, that's just the way I want it. Anyways, so I don't really think the 5C is, I really don't like it at all. And another thing is the 5C weighs more than the 5S, and since it's plasticky, I think it should weigh less, but in fact it weighs more, so that just upsets me a little bit more and makes me want to have the phone even less. And there's something else. There's like this Touch ID that is new, that's not on the 5 but it is on the 5S, and they didn't even add that to the 5C. So I'm thinking what they did with the 5C is they just took what was on the 5 and just put a plastic cover on it and different colors. So I really don't know what's Apple's judgment in this. Maybe everybody's gonna think that the 5C is the same as the 5S, and then they're gonna be like, oh, it's $100 cheaper, but then in reality 5C is the same as the 5, but the 5 is like $100 right now with the 2-year contract or whatever year contract you get. And it's like, well, derp, you're not gonna get anything. So I don't know, I really don't like the new 5S 5C. It's really bothering me a little bit. I mean, the 5S seems fine, but the 5C really just bothers me, and I don't see a point in it. I personally don't really think the 5S is worth it if you already have the 5, because the only thing that they're upgrading is they're adding this Touch ID thing, and they're just upgrading the camera and processor, of course, and maybe a better battery life. I don't know. The thing is, Apple doesn't really explain anything about its battery life, so I don't really know what it's gonna be, and I don't really care since I'm not really an Apple user. Maybe if they really do something to make me want to switch over from Android to Apple, maybe I will. Because Android, the thing is, it's so customable, and I can do whatever the balls I want. If I want to eat it, I'll eat it. And they have some phones that have really big screens, and to me, the screen size is one of the big things with the cell phone. It's the screen, because the screen is going to be what I'm going to be looking at 99% of the time. Of course, you have the software and everything. That's going to be like what kind of software you want and everything, but the main thing is the screen. And yeah, I guess really the screen and the way it feels. The iPhone does feel very good, but also Samsung phones, I don't really like how they feel. They always look very beautiful, but they feel really weird, and I always feel kind of weird whenever I hold a Samsung phone. And I own a Samsung phone. I own the Galaxy S2. Maybe I'll go for the Galaxy Note 3, but maybe I won't. I'm still debating on 1 Max or Note 3. Don't know what I'm gonna go. Both of them seem really awesome, and I don't know. The thing might be the price, because I think the Note 3 is like $300, and it's like, I'm not gonna spend $300 on a phone. It's like, what if the phone gets stolen? There goes $300. Anyways, whatever it is, it is what it is. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and until next time, don't forget to rub the rubber ducky.